Bill Plaschke, Tim Kalishaw, Pablo Torre, Jackie McMullen. Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Today, Spurs, surge, heats, pace, ping-pong diplomacy. Settle down, Plaschke and McMullen. I know you love those things.
There you go.
And the perils of souvenirs. Let's go around the horn.
Right on the beat.
Glove in those cargo shorts?
Plaschke McMullen with a lottery tonight. They've never been like this before.
Presented by Smirnoff.
So excited
Part
for
of
the
Happy
lottery.
Hour. Here's Tony Reali.
Welcome back around. We got a Plaschke, a Kalishaw, a Torre, and a McMullen. Pablo's been on the show for about 2 years, so this is only the 4th appearance ever for this panel. And McMullen has won all 3.
Oh!
Do you think that bodes well for her in this appearance? Well,
Enjoy
let's
your
see.
10 minutes here,
Exactly.
It's the first word.
Udonis Haslem. He played 3 minutes total last series versus the Nets. Looks like he could get the start tonight against the Pacers. LeBron James spent the majority of game 1 defensively, back down with David West. He looks like he's going to get some more time out on the wing with Paul George tonight. Jackie, those are 2 adjustments the Heat could make. Are they the right adjustments, and what would you prescribe?
Well, yes, I can understand both of those because certainly the Heat needs to be more physical, and Udonis Haslem is nothing else but that. I'll tell you what I want to see more of, the Birdman, Chris Anderson. When you put Bosh and Chris Anderson together, good things happen for the Heat, and you need a lively, big body out there on the floor. I'll tell you what, too. Remember we were talking about Roy Hibbert? I feel like we've been talking about him for 3 months now. And why did we spend so much time on him? This is the series. Here's why right now. They are a plus 19, the Pacers are, when Roy Hibbert is on the floor against the Miami Heat. That's why the Heat went out and got Greg Oden. So a lot of things are going on here. But all the Heat really need to do, in my mind, play better defense. When they play great defense and get fast break baskets, that's when they're at their best. Keep them under 100 points. 8-0 when they do that.
And you said you want more Anderson, though. He played 19 minutes in game 1, which was the most he played in about 3 weeks. Let's go to Pablo Torre.
Yeah, I do think putting LeBron on Paul George makes some sense, but the real reason why the Pacers have been so good is that their full starting 5, they're threats. David West, you can't just hide a defender on him. He had 29, 6, and 4 to close out the Wizards in the last series, so let's not take him for granted. But I do think that he can do a couple things. Number one, attack the rim as they tried to whenever Roy Hibbert is off the floor. 12 of 14 at the rim when Hibbert is not in the game. But more than that, you basically just wait for the Heat to regress to the mean a little bit. Chris Bosh was shooting 49% from 3 in the postseason. He was going to be the guy to draw Hibbert away from the rim. He was 0-5 in the last game. You figure he's not going to be that bad again. And I think LeBron is the type of guy who's going to have one of these takeover games where he drops 49. Maybe that's tonight. It's going to happen soon.
Kalishaw.
Yeah, I think you can get carried away with stats from one game and say, oh, you got to adjust this, and this. When the reality is, Indiana had 2 very early open threes for George Hill, and he made them. And you didn't expect those shots to go in, and they did. And that got the whole Pacers offense on a roll. That's how all the starters ended up with 15 points. What Pablo said about David West is right. David West and Hibbert are going to score on whoever's going to guard him the way these matchups go. So I don't know if just moving LeBron away from him and getting him on Paul George might get him in foul trouble. That might not be the way to go. But mostly they just got to make baskets. They were 6 for 23 on threes. Chris Bosh is not going to keep missing all those shots.
Jackie's really enjoying what you're saying there, Kalishaw. We'll get to her in a second.
LeBron James in foul trouble? When did that ever happen?
Exactly. Flash
once. It happened once.
Well, first of all, we have to realize that don't forget the Heat have won 10 straight postseason games after a loss. Okay, so I'm not that worried about them tonight, but they do need to get tougher inside. They need a LeBron took 2 foul shots. LeBron needs to get to the rim more. And what Jackie was saying, Tony, about Chris Bosh and Birdman playing together is what they need more minutes. When they play together over the last 2 years, the Heat have outscored the Pacers by 25 points when those 2 guys are together. So we need more Birdman with Bosh. We need more Haslem in there. We need more offensive rebounds. Only 4 offensive rebounds for the Heat. More toughness. And again, the Pacers have shown to me, if you punch them in the mouth, they're not so quick to punch back. I think they come punch them in the mouth.
McMullen back in.
I'll tell you what, you keep mentioning Bosh, and I understand that, but Pablo, over the last 2 seasons, including the postseason, when Chris Bosh is playing against the Pacers, he shoots 43%. When he plays against everybody else in the league, it's 52%. So the Pacers are in
Good
his head.
stat, Jackie McMullen. Pablo, respond to that.
Well, I do think that Bosh, against that lineup is a bad matchup. That was the whole thing from the Eastern Conference Finals last year. In fact, For tonight, though, I think the Heat have not lost consecutive playoff games since the 2012 Eastern Conference Finals. I do think they do win tonight, but I think they ultimately lose the series in 7.
Bill, you're so quick to point out what I just said that. I deserve the points for that.
I said it.
Callan Shaw will get out of here.
Jackie, just because something hasn't happened doesn't mean it won't happen. You won't necessarily win this show. LeBron won't necessarily stay out of foul trouble.
You already got tonight, Tim. If you want to just throw a pick out there, please be our guest.
I do think Miami wins and evens the series tonight. But I
Tim
think
says so. There's no reason to ask everybody else. We'll move on. Thunder Spurs now, where going in, the question was how much OKC would miss Serge Ibaka. And going out, the exclamation was, wow, OKC really missed Serge Ibaka. Points in the paint in the game, 66-32. Sam Amick, USA Today. Thunder faced 3 more Spurs beatdowns without Ibaka. Flashkey, is that how you see it?
Yeah, it sounds so trite and obvious, but it's so true. The Spurs were connected on 64% of their drives to the hoop without Ibaka in there. They scored more than 1 point per drive going to the basket. There's nobody to stop them in there. And then offensively, they really miss Ibaka because the other 3 starters combined for 9 points, I believe, in the game besides Westbrook and Durant. They need Ibaka scoring. They miss him defensively. And when Westbrook and Durant, yes, they can take over a game as they did early in the third quarter. Actually gave Oklahoma City the lead. But when they do that with a small lineup on the floor, and that line cannot compete defensively against the Spurs.
So you believe that's a dilemma that will
they're in a catch-22
here. Okay, Kalish, how about you?
Well, what we learned is that Oklahoma City's in real trouble. When they start without that small lineup, and they start with Cephalosha and Perkins and Nick Collison, they're running plays to get Nick Collison 3-point shots in the corner, and he's hitting the side of the backboard. That is not going to last very long. So they can go small, and they can score, but when they go small, they can't come close to defending all the Spurs' weapons, which are all – they started slow in the Dallas series. By the end of the Dallas series, Danny Green and everybody were going strong, and they – blew right through Portland.
So you agree that OKC's doomed in this series?
They're only going to win a game when Durant and Westbrook go absolutely crazy, and that'll happen.
Let's bring in Pablo here.
Well, they look doomed because in the last dozen times the Spurs and Thunder have played, the Thunder actually won 10 of those 12, but they held the Spurs to only 41 points in the paint over the whole game. The Spurs had 40 points at the half last night. That's how big Serge Ibaka is. And I think one of the big things, Tim Duncan, by the way, he got to rest last night. He only played like 28, 29 minutes. Keeping the load on him light is going to be huge. I think when you look at the Spurs going a full 7-game series, I think this is the way the series goes. I think that having Duncan fresh is going to be a big, big factor.
Jackie McMullen.
Yeah, I'm not ready to pronounce OKC out of this series entirely. All the points these guys have made is true. You know, the thing that I learned that I should have been more keen into. Do you know what they shot against Danny Green in this game last night? 2 for 14 from the floor. Durant and Westbrook with him on him were a combined 2 for 9. He's like all of a sudden this shutdown guy in this series. And Boris Diaw, when he's on the floor, when they go to that small lineup, who thought we'd be talking about Boris Diaw as the X factor? But he can take Reggie Jackson, he can take Caron Butler, any of the guys, he'll take them right down into the post. What OKC needs is for a guy like Caron Butler to hit some of those perimeter shots and open things up for OKC, so they do have that third weapon.
It seems like Scotty Brooks, what he's going to have to wrestle with here is going for some size so they can prevent the points of the paint, or going for some offense, but then they're very vulnerable. Pablo, you have any idea how we should play that?
Well, here's the thing. In Game 6 against the Clippers, when they blew them out, they had a lineup of Reggie Jackson, Westbrook, Durant, Collison, and Steven Adams. And that was the lineup. We did not see that lineup at all last night. Steven Adams only played 17, 19 minutes. More of that guy with Collison is a good idea.
Klasky.
Yeah, Tim was right, and I saw this against the Clippers. If Westbrook and Durant completely take over the game, both get triple-doubles, then they can win a game or two. But that's all they have in this series.
Reggie Jackson will have to be very big playing with those two guys, but that's going to be an odd defensive matchup no matter who the Spurs have.
Klasky 9, Kalish 7, 47. McMullen 10. People beginning to wonder, how does she own this panel like she does?
Early yet. It's early.
Taking a break. Buy or sell next. And coming up, whether Bartolo Colon could actually make the NL reconsider their position on the designated hitter. And lottery night.
Here we go.
Look at Flashkey McMullen.
Here we go.
They can't even control themselves, right? They think it's their divine rights for Boston and LA to win this lottery.
Lakers.
Wow, we never win the lottery. You kidding? In Boston, never.
Around the Horn is presented by Smirnoff. Please drink responsibly. Part of Happy Hour. And in part by Wendy's.
Buy Buy or sell.
NBA draft lottery in 3 hours. If anybody sees that man in Plasma 1 or that woman in Plasma 4 anywhere near the ping pong balls, call the authorities. Various characters indeed. Milwaukee, Philadelphia, Orlando, Utah, the odds ever be in their favor. Then Boston, then Los Angeles. This draft long thought to be a game changer, though. I'd be interested to know if you feel the same way now as you did 4 months ago about the talents. Phil, answering as the impartial, right down the middle columnist that you are, what should the NBA want to see after
If
tonight?
the NBA wants drama, if they want glamour, if they want Hollywood, if they want TV ratings, and if they want Kobe Bryant to have one more shot at the championship, they will want the Lakers. Absolutely, they will rig it for the Lakers. If they're smart, they will fix it so the Lakers get one of the top 3 picks, so Kobe can have a chance to win again.
Bill, listen to yourself. Bill, listen to what you're saying.
The NBA is a better league when the Lakers are good. Everyone knows this.
I speak for everybody. Kalisha.
Heaven forbid that Kobe would have to retire with 5 rings. That would be such a shame. They need to make sure the Lakers don't move up. Denver, nobody in the West needs to move up. The Eastern Conference needs star power. Milwaukee, Philadelphia, Boston. They need to get these guys, Wiggins, Embiid, Parker, that the country has gotten to know this.
So you say best case scenario is that the Eastern Conference gets better here in this draft. How about you, Pablo?
Well, if the league is sensitive to tanking allegations, you might not want the teams that Tim mentioned to win the lottery. You might want some other teams to show that the odds aren't always in your favor. In fact, however, the Knicks don't have that pick. They're setting it to Denver, 0.7% chance. How hilarious would it be if the Knicks won the lottery
All right,
to Carmelo Anthony?
Pablo.
They're also going to lose it.
I expect that from Plasky to take a very local look at this. Let's go to Jackie McMullen. If you say Boston, you're getting him too, Jackie.
Don't worry about it. No problem there. I know exactly where this pick should go, and it should go to Milwaukee, who at the start of the season, remember, was trying to make the playoffs, but they had all sorts of injuries. Here's why. That franchise is floundering. It just got a new owner. It's got Lou Alcindor's name in the rafters, for crying out loud. They're drowning. They need help with the #1 pick.
So you say Milwaukee would be the NBA's dream is that Milwaukee gets the #1 pick.
It makes sense. Yes.
Flasky, watch yourself. Lakers,
Flasky,
Knicks,
you're afraid you have
Cavs,
to go to
T-Wolves,
Milwaukee.
and Jazz. They're all lottoing without a coach. Kevin Ollie may have been on those lists, but he's off them now. Mustache says pro, Art says no. Staying with UConn, getting double money. Tim, I mustache you a question. Buy or sell Ollie, extending with the Huskies.
You got to buy this. I mean, until the tournament, until probably the second round of the tournament, people didn't even know Kevin Ollie, had replaced Calhoun and was in Connecticut. You wouldn't want somebody to win there and leave, and then it looks like, okay, UConn is a stepping stone school. It's a great program. He should stay.
Pablo?
He's not making this choice in the abstract. He's looking at specific jobs that are open. The Knicks, the Lakers, the T-Wolves. Does he want any of those jobs? Are those jobs better than being the king of Connecticut, which he is right now at his absolute peak? I'd rather stay there for a couple of years, see what comes up next.
Pablo, did you ever think you'd go on national TV and say being the king of Connecticut is better than being the head coach?
I am really sorry that I just said that.
Go ahead, Jackie.
You know what? Kevin Ollie is going to be one of the top 10 highest paid coaches in college basketball. He's doing right by his mentor, Jim Calhoun, who really stuck his neck out to give Ollie this job when he really didn't have a whole lot of coaching experience. For him, he's going to stay there, build that program even more better than it is, and the NBA isn't going anywhere.
So
They'll
you
come
think,
back to Kevin Ollie.
UConn's a better job than the Lakers? For Ollie right now.
For Ollie right now, that doesn't mean it's true later on.
Go ahead,
Guys, we
After
all
they
know,
get the #1 pick.
We all know Kevin Ollie is an NBA guy. 13 years in the league, 12 different teams. He's mentored guys like LeBron and Durant. This guy, he's going to go to the NBA sooner or later. He should have gone now when we can make a ton of money doing it, and we can go to a team like the Lakers.
Oh, Flashkey, would you please get over yourself? Get a hold of your life, I believe it said before. We're moving on. I believe you're all familiar with Bartolo Colon's body of work at the plates. Mets pitchers this year are 1 for 71. That's 0-14. And no NL team hitting above 176 from their pitchers. Pitchers hitting so bad, the New York Times wants you to think about a world where NL teams have a DH. Pablo, buy or sell the DH in the National League?
Well, look, if we're making rules changes based on whether Bartolo Colon can do things, that is a slippery slope indeed. However, for consistency's sake, put the DH in both leagues, increase the offense. It's weird that you have two conferences that operate extremely differently statistically and in actual game situations and strategies.
Jackie McMullen.
Not only is it weird, it's unfair, because when you get to the World Series, for instance, last year with the Red Sox, they had Mike Napoli, their second best hitter, had to take a seat, so David Ortiz, their best hitter, could play first base while the non-DH was in effect. So I agree with Pablo. You need a level playing field, but maybe we should eliminate the DH in both leagues.
Flashy.
Pablo, as you know, they're not conferences, they're leagues. And in the National League, it's much better baseball if the pitcher hits, because of the bunting, because of the strategy. In fact, Kobe Bryant, I think, loves the way they bunt.
Flashy.
Now he's just trolling.
What do you have somewhere to go? Do you want me to eliminate you now? College show, last word.
Well, I would correct Lasky on the folly of bunting, but he's so far gone today it doesn't really matter. No, the National League should get rid of pitchers batting. The game is better with the DH. Watch both games over a period of time. You'll know that. Go with it.
I hope you get a great story, Flash. Like, you got some hot date right now, and you needed to get out of here.
Having endured the worst season in Laker history out here, you got to cut me some slack, Tony. You got to cut me some slack.
All right. Here's your slack. You're off. Kalisha, Torrey, McMullen, lightning rounds next. And then later, whether it's smart to call a man who's up 2-0 on you by a score of 10-3, and whose nickname is King, and who looks like this, whether it's smart to call that man lucky. This was a walkover, it appears. Kalisha, McMullen, and Torrey into the lightning round. Plashke's off to the DMV, maybe? I don't know. What does he do on a Tuesday afternoon usually? An NFL playoff expansion vote was tabled this afternoon until the fall, so 2015 at the earliest for playoff change you can believe in. There's been a debate over whether the Players Association would sign off on playoff expansion, and a debate whether the owners needed the players to sign off on it to enact it. Kalisha, you have any insight here, a hot sports take you'd like to share?
Well, it's just surprising that they've gone over 20 years without doing this. They can change from 12 to 14 teams. It doesn't change much other than it gets two more teams in the playoffs, more money, and the first team in each conference gets a bye instead of the top two.
Do you believe
so
the Players Association should have sign-off here on this?
Not really. The players are going to get more money out of it, so I don't know why.
Pablo?
But here's the thing. The playoff structure is in the NFL Constitution and bylaws. That feels to me like it should be collectively bargained. But more than that, regardless of whether, these workmen's comp issues are resolved soon or not, the idea that you're against, head trauma and CTE and all of these bad things, but are arguing for more games, whether the union or the league, seems fairly hypocritical to me.
Jackie?
Fairly hypocritical, extremely hypocritical. And how can you even think about doing that without talking to the Players Association when we have these huge health issues at risk here? What about the format, too? Don't you need to go over the format? Don't you need to go over the revenue split? There's all sorts of issues here. I can't imagine why the owners thought they could actually do this without the players.
Well, I think the plan was always 2015, though. Do you believe 2015 there'll be an expansion in the playoffs, Jackie?
Yes.
I think that's too soon.
You think too soon, but Pablo says yes.
If there's money on the table, everyone's going to go for it, regardless of the health.
I don't know. With today's health
These owners' meetings, including Jim Irsay, the Colts, he's pitching Indianapolis for the Super Bowl in 2018, and these are the first public comments outside of Twitter he's made since his arrest earlier this spring. What do you think Irsay being around these meetings, Pablo?
Well, I think addiction is a serious medical issue that's a foremost concern. But I would like for the NFL to hold owners and players to the same standard if it's coming from a place of morality, especially when you're facing 4 felony counts and you endangered other people while driving your car while intoxicated.
Jackie McMullen?
Absolutely. I think we all hope Robert Irsay is on the road to recovery. That's all well and good. But if you're going to suspend players for for transgressions far less serious than what's been alleged against Irsay, I think you have a problem on your hands.
Kalisha.
I think it's disturbing for fans to see. I think it's even worse for players. And to have him standing there and saying, I'm feeling okay. I'm not quite back on the golf course yet. How is that supposed to make anybody feel? Are we really worried about when he's back on the golf course at this point?
So do you believe Goodell is going to have to make some sort of statement on this, or at least acknowledge that something...
Yeah, Goodell needs to say a lot more than he has to this point.
I think he needs to take action. I don't think you can just let Irsay come back like nothing happened.
Pablo Torre, they call you the King of Connecticut. Unfortunately, you represent New York, and you're off the show. What's the last word?
I want to be clear to my bosses. I really like living in New York. This is cool. Connecticut's great, but I like being the king.
The Prince of Bristol, Pablo Torre. That's it. Kalisha McMullen showdown next. 2 enter, only 1 will leave. And straight ahead. Pros and cons of going face first into a souvenir. Oh. Ow. It has been a war of attrition today. Now we got Kalishaw and McMullen. David versus Goliath. There ever was with this panel today. 2 quick ones and 30 seconds apiece. Good luck to you both. PK Subban of the Canadiens thinks Henrik Lundqvist is getting a bit lucky this series. Quote, he's getting a bit lucky, but that's what you need in the playoffs. End quote. It's 10-3 Rangers through 2 games, Kalishaw. Fair comments coming from your foe?
He's the best goalie on the planet. How can you even think of saying something like this? You've got to outwork him. You've got to start playing. You've got to get your power play going. It's not about the goalie. It's about your own team.
Hey, you know what? Yeah, you're absolutely right on that, Tim. The last time I heard somebody call someone else lucky, it was Roberto Luongo. He said Tim Thomas was lucky in 2011. How'd that turn out?
Mm-hmm. Good memory. Jackie, you're not getting any points saying you're absolutely right, Tim. I mean, if that's the case, I'll give the points to Tim. Thank you very much.
That works here.
Showdown 2. Souvenir ball to the face. McMullen, a moment to remember. Or one, to forget.
Well, for the poor boy who missed the ball, one to forget, but the guy in the back, one to remember, because he was turning to his pal and saying, don't get up and try to do this. We're too old, too slow. That thing's going to hit us in the face.
A moment to remember is catching a foul ball on national TV. It's not getting drilled in the face while wearing cargo shorts. That's not something you want to take with you through the rest of your life. I'm sorry.
A moment to remember here. Tim Kalishaw summoning Everest, defeating McMullen in Showdown. 30 seconds of patience.
Just a word of advice to Tiger Woods. He had his news conference this week because his foundation's involved with the tournament and congressional. Told everybody he's not ready to play and then talked about his friend Romo who went through that same surgery. The fans of the Dallas Stars, Dallas Mavericks, and SMU will tell you when you put Tony Romo's face on big screens at your big games, it does not go well. So if you're Tiger Woods trying to come back from this same surgery Romo had last year, it's not the greatest thing in the world to call out, hey, me and Tony are in this thing together. Here we go, marching toward the British Open. It's not going to work that way.
I've got 3 pairs of cargo shorts.
Ooh, really?
Does that surprise anybody here?
Yes.
Okay.
Why do you wear cargo shorts?
Usually half
Thanks
the
for
model
coming
is
around on
listening
a
to
23.5 hour break.
California thing.
We'll see you tomorrow.
Tim went Howard Dean at the end with that.
What makes the Indy 500 the greatest spectacle in racing?
We are playing. Everyone in the grandstands are on their feet. Now the winner of the Indianapolis 500, my friend.
The Indianapolis 500, Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific on ABC.